why elephants don't think you're cute. And I'm pretty sure this is like, I'm pretty sure this video is like the video, like to where like the elephant stomped out the lady at her funeral and in person. So let's learn a little bit more about elephants, bro.
Oh my gosh.
お前はもう死んでいる。何?
Damn.
The average person lies about 1 to 2 times a day, 1.65 to be exact. The average person can also expect to be lied to anywhere from 10 to 200 times in the same amount of time. And if you have internet, which you obviously do, because how else would you be here? Most of those lies probably come from behind a screen. And these days, it really doesn't matter what you say, as long as you say it with confidence, a small group of people will believe you. Like if I say that coconuts can technically be classified as mammals because they have hair and produce milk and say it with my whole chest, at least one person's gonna pause this video and think about it. And it seems like every week I get tagged in a video of some guy saying the T-Rex was actually a dragon with wings, or Megalodon is still somehow alive, when the truth is, T-Rex didn't have wings.
He is spitting a lot of facts right now. I cannot hold you, bro. That's just the way, that's just the internet.
A 60-foot shark isn't hiding from the world in the bottom of the ocean. And there are no hot singles in your area just dying to meet you. The worst lies are the ones you tell yourself. There's a lot of alternative facts out there, so I'm going to talk about the most common and the most entertaining ones that I get asked about. Some of these might be obviously made up, others I may or may not have believed at one point. Either way, someone's feelings are definitely going to get hurt with this first one. So it's a known fact that elephants find us cute. And we know this because the parts of an elephant's brain that are engaged when one sees a human are the exact same as when a human sees a puppy. Meaning elephants see us the way we see puppies.
Oh, hell no. That's why we slayed them woolly mammoths. You're not gonna little nigga me. You crazy?
Except it's not true, and for 3 good reasons. Number 1, there ain't an MRI big enough. Not to mention the elephant would have to be awake and fully conscious just for us to be able to prove it. Meaning everyone in that entire room would be one 5-ton temper tantrum away from getting crossed off the census. Number 2, elephants have every reason to find us the opposite of cute. It's bad.
Bro, he just backslid. Yo.
Enough they're forced to share an area code with some of the most dangerous things alive. But add the fact that humans put an estimated 55 elephants on a shirt, not every week, but every 24 hours. Elephants finding us cute would be like if people found Ted Bundy cute. And that would just be ridiculous. Someone feels called out and they should be. And number 3, and when I tried to figure out where this fact even started, it turns out it came from a Twitter post back in 2017. And it also turned out that she got that fact from Tumblr, and disclaimer, it's not going to be the only fact we get from there. Long story short, if elephants actually found us cute, the global census would be at least 500 names heavier. But there's nothing cute about this.
Elephant rage, some 500 people are killed by elephant attacks each year. That's a random way to go out. That, bro, you went out, you got stomped out by a fuck.
Next video.
Bro, what the hell? What is that?
So, you probably have some thoughts. The thing is, that exact clip will go viral once every couple of months. And one of the top comments is always the same. It's some guy saying camels spit their stomachs out their mouths to cool off and 1,000 people having a panic attack over it. The truth is, any camel with its stomach ejected from its body isn't a camel. It was. You're looking at one less sand donkey in the world. What it actually is an organ called a doula. It's an inflatable extension of the upper.
Look at KJ. It's their stomach, I think. You're literally who this guy is talking about.
That the male will flex to get a female's attention.
Wait, you flex your I'm a doula to show you what you toting with? But if I try to flex my I'm a doula in public, I'm an offender.
Because that's really what it's all about. And as camels go deeper into rut, they'll even start foaming at their mouth to really show the world what type of time they're on. That and the flesh balloon dangling from its mouth is basically a Batman symbol for camels that want to prove that hump isn't just something on its back. It can be a verb and it can also be a desire. Also, I know what you're thinking. I know. You might have even commented it already, so I'm just gonna say it. No, you can't pop it, and yeah, you should be on the list for even asking. But SparkNote's version, that's not a camel showing you its stomach, that's a camel that wants to get into yours. And it's not even the first time something like this has gone viral. And that's because pelicans exist. Specifically, this picture exists, along with the thousands of people who genuinely believe pelicans will spit their spines out in a way to cool off in the heat. It started as a meme that people will now defend to the death like a religion. What they're actually doing is a lot less dramatic. The truth is, this pelican is just yawning.
Bro, nigga, what? Nah, imagine you yawn and break your whole back out, your whole stomach, gut flex out. Yo,
Pelicans yawn, the tissue on their bottom mandible gets stretched out over their neck under it. All it is just a pouch being flipped inside out, not a pelican evicting its own skeleton to cool off. What this flying trash disposal actually does to cool off is guller fluttering. It's pretty much the bird.
That's how Miley Cyrus looked when she twerked. Yo, that was a random stray. I don't know where that even came from. It's true though.
What this flying trash disposal actually does to cool off is guller fluttering. It's pretty much the bird version of panting. It works by exchanging the hot air from the throat and lungs with the cooler air from outside. Birds like pelicans can avoid overheating, without also having to negotiate half their spine. Cause trust and believe me when I say this, pelicans are demonic enough on their own. Another common bird fact is that turkeys are so IQ deficient that they'll look up during a rainstorm and drown themselves. And then somebody will tell you it's true because their neighbor's dog's grandmother knew someone whose turkeys became a hashtag that way. First of all, turkeys aren't that stupid. Domestic turkeys? Yeah, you got me there. But go ask a hunter how dumb wild turkeys are and how easy they are to catch. You'll either get a 40-minute backstory or a few curse words under their breath. Turkeys that manage to survive in the wild are way smarter than they get credit for. As for the drowning in the rain thing, some turkeys get this condition known as tetanic torticollis spasms, or TT for short. And the SparkNotes version is that this neurological fumble can cause turkeys to cock their heads back facing the sky and be stuck there for up to a minute and sometimes longer. So no, the turkey isn't dumb enough to waterboard themselves in a storm. It's just some people that are gullible enough to believe it. And it's probably the same people that believe this. Apparently, otters will show their babies to predators in order to make them feel compassion. Now, I'm not going to judge anyone who believes this, but I'm going to put it real blunt. There are a lot of threats to a sea otter's way of life. Two of them include the headliner for Jaws and a freed Willy, and trying to get sympathy from the same Oreo that regularly sends seals into orbit and stingrays into basically ringing death stories. Now, you might argue it wasn't a sea otter in the picture, it's a river otter. Fair enough. Imagine an otter trying to guilt trip a prehistoric snare trap with its child. The outcome would be 2 less otters and 1 well-fed gator. Facts like this only go viral when people take human traits and try to put them onto animals. And this is coming from the guy who regularly refers to a killer whale as an oppressive cookie. Because in the wild, morality gets you 404 and put on someone else's 4 for 4. Which is why otters are much more likely to sacrifice their own child.
Bro, is he humping that wood?
Than use them as a sob story for a coyote. And speaking of babies, you probably heard as a kid how you should
Bro, some of these animals be so ugly, bro.
never touch a baby bird because then you'll get your scent on the chick and cause the mother to reject it. And that's not true for a very simple reason. Most birds have a poor sense of smell. The average bird wouldn't even be able to tell if you had touched your chick or not. Especially since birds don't identify their chicks by—
Wait, that's a myth? No way.
And that's not true for a very simple reason. Most birds have a poor sense of smell. The average bird wouldn't even be able to tell if you had touched your chick or not. Especially since birds don't identify—
Nah, I'm not gonna hold you. That gotta be the biggest myth ever, because everybody believes that.
their chicks by smell. They go by sight and sound. Now, the reason you shouldn't touch one is because if mama bird suspects that her nest has been disturbed in any way, she'll abandon them altogether. Why risk your life raising a family when you can always make a new one? Also, the baby bird might not even need your help, because oftentimes it's a fledgling that people are trying to save. Not knowing that fledglings are perfectly fine on the ground or are probably being supervised by parents nearby. But if those parents did because they see you manhandling their child, then the only thing you helped that baby was become an orphan. Basically, you'd be rescuing that bird the same way
Who
that
is
dentists
everybody? My fault. Me.
rescued Nemo. Another fact that isn't really a fact is actually something I used to believe. Cheetahs got screwed in the genetic
Why'd I feed them kids if they ain't mine?
lottery and screwed hard. And one of the reasons people think that is because they can only sprint for 20 seconds at a time before their brains start to overheat and eventually shut down. Cheetahs are a genetic fumble and nothing will change my mind about that. But cheetah hunts don't end fast due to overheating. They end for the same reason you can't sprint as far as you can jog. Sprinting fast enough to catch a ticket on the freeway costs so much energy that even when cheetahs make the kill, they have to rest before actually claiming their prize. And the ironic thing is, in experiments where cheetah body temperatures were taken, they were slightly higher after a successful hunt compared to when they went home hungry. But it probably didn't have to do with the actual running. It probably had everything to do with the stress of knowing they're just one rogue leopard or a clan of hyenas or even a disrespectful vulture away from having sleep for dinner. Yeah, that wasn't a joke, by the way. Researchers now believe that cheetahs get anxious at kills for the simple fact that they can get their pockets picked at any time. That nervousness can cause the temperature to rise. But cheetahs don't actually overheat like an old school Dell monitor. They get more heated over the mental stress of keeping their lunch than the physical stress of actually catching it. And the myth started from an experiment where Harvard scientists took cheetahs from captivity, put them on a treadmill, and then plugged up their south side with a thermometer. And before you say anything, we've done some weird things in the name of science, and that wouldn't even crack the top 10. But all it did was convince the world that cheetahs factory reset themselves if they run too long. Don't get me wrong, they're still low tier, but they're not that bad. Another thing people swear is fact is this one right here, and I'll admit it. Knowing what I know about these tuxedo turkeys, I normally wouldn't put it past them. But 2 things. 1, this gif is fake. But 2, penguins don't actually eat each other to test if the water's safe. I'm not doubting that they're big enough cloacas to try. It's the same bird that'll do the mannequin challenge while its firstborn becomes a flatline. But what actually happens is penguins like Adelies will often gather by the water's edge, and it'll usually take one or two jumping in first before the rest follow suit. Now obviously if a murder seal makes a guest appearance, the other penguins probably won't be so quick to join. But penguins don't actively sacrifice each other just to clear the water. The same way sloths aren't as brain dead as some people like to think. You've probably heard this one. Sloths are so stupid that they regularly mistake their own arms for tree branches, only to fall and become a statistic. Except not only is it not true, the myth itself came from The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy by Douglas Adams, and that fact was based on a one-time event Douglas experienced with a baby sloth. A sloth's claws actually works in the opposite way a human hand does, where having a tight grip is a default and opening up their claws actually takes effort. Plus, any animal that can't tell its arm from arbor isn't living long enough to be talked about. That would make even a koala look like an MIT candidate, but people took the sloth fact and ran with it. But it didn't get nearly as much mileage as this last myth did, because literally every time you've heard the phrase alpha wolf, you were lied to, because in the wild, the alpha wolf doesn't exist, since the wolf pack's made up of the two mating wolves followed by a couple generations of their children. Saying alpha wolf implies that the leading wolves got there by flexing on all the other wolves in the pack, when really the leading wolves are just the ones that boned. And unless your father got there by throwing hands with everyone under your roof, which I hope for your sake never happened, and unless you're some kind of weirdo, you wouldn't call your father the alpha. You call him dad. The biggest problem with the alpha wolf concept was that it was based on wolves in captivity. That'd be like if I got locked in Mexico.
I mean, it still doesn't not make it alpha wolf. It just makes it a different alpha wolf.
Security, studied all the prisoners, and then wrote a book on human nature. Either way, it's a myth. So much so that the guy that helped popularize the term alpha wolf, David Meck, ended up doing a 180 and even tried to get his publisher to stop releasing his book on wolf ecology because of the myth. Especially since one of the biologists he referenced, Rudolf Schenkel, based his studies on observing wolves in a German zoo. And in poorly constructed zoo habitats, wolves will behave with more self-preservation than wolves in the wild, since the wolf's natural strategy revolves around propping up the weaker, youngest members. Long story short, when you put a bunch of random, unrelated wolves behind a fence, they're gonna start acting different. Not unlike humans in max security. Because I think we can all agree whatever goes down in prison doesn't represent people in general. But in the wild, the big bad alpha wolf is about as real as the Easter Bunny. And no amount of tattoos, podcasts, or wildly inappropriate fanfics will ever change that. Don't think I'm not aware of how y'all know what rutting is. I'm onto you. But that's gonna do it for this video. For more consistent daily content, be sure to follow my Instagram.
Well, y'all seen it. Shout out my boy, Casual Geographic. If you guys want more videos, make sure y'all let me know down below in the comments. And yeah, bro, it's fire.